We didn't call it body dysmorphia, we called it goals. And I spent those sensitive years of my life kind of coming into myself in the 90s when things like super diets, low-rise jeans, heroin chic, and just overall need to be thin was the way to do it. And I was not a naturally thin girl. So this is a little bit about how that culture shaped me, especially being somebody who was into subcultural sort of lifestyle as a young teen in the 90s. First, let's rewind to the 80s. It was the decade of diet culture, the rise of aerobics, low-fat everything, exercise tapes. I remember eating Snackwell's cookies. Do those even exist anymore? And if you weren't in the process of losing at least 5 pounds in the 80s, then somebody might be telling you you should. And my mom was a textbook yuppie mom from the 80s. Tennis court classes, gym memberships, racquetball, all the fad diets. I remember going to Weight Watchers with my mom when I was barely 15, but it was teaching me at a young age to sort of the need to shrink. Then came the 90s and the beauty ideals changed. It didn't get any healthier. Enter heroin chic. You got the Kate Mosses, the hollowed out models who are all bent over with ribs showing, wearing lingerie and fishnets. At least the ones I wanted to look at were. And suddenly the sad girl became the icon, the thin, wafy, sad girl. They looked messy and haunted. The clothes didn't fit quite right. I never had the shape for it, but my God, did I want to. One of my favorite 90s looks too was the sheer top with nothing underneath, which was great when you had an A cup, but when you were built a little bigger, you just looked kind of weird in those looks. Then there was Kinder Horror, Riot Girl, early grunge. And at the time it looked like rebellion. But looking back now, there was still sort of the underlying rule. Be thin enough to be cool and messy. Don't be heavy and cool and messy. It didn't work. I mean, you had to wear the vinyl pants, the baby doll dress. The looks were aggressive, but they were also a little exclusive. Even in the scene that was supposed to be anti-mainstream, there were beauty standards, for sure. And those standards in the 90s and 2000s really prized small bodies. If you could be waifish or otherworldly or just disappear into the night, I was always jealous of my super skinny friends, aching to just have a body type that was nowhere near what I was born with. So I remember being 13, flipping through Shape magazines and YM, torn between if I could be a model or just look like one, or do I need to go to actual fat camp? I wasn't really sure. The message was loud. If you weren't thin, you were failing. And if you were thin, you could probably be thinner. Then came the goth scene. For the first time, I found a place where being different was celebrated. We were walking art pieces. But here's the thing. Even if we were in a world that was supposed to be alternative and expressive, there still was that underlying thin culture. Yeah, you could be weird, you could be loud, but you better be doing it in a size 2 corset. So my clothes that were my armor also became prison in a sense. I wasn't just dressing to impress, I was dressing to hide. I remember my best friend coming down to LA from San Francisco so we could go to nightclubs, and we would not eat all day long, specifically so we could afford those calories for some drinks at the end of the night, and so that we felt skinny when we went out. And it was probably a very interesting time when once we had that first drink with no food in our stomach all day. But that was the lifestyle. You wanted to be thin, you didn't eat. And that's part of why we created Bones in Black. Like this design that I'm wearing now from our t-shirt brand, Stars Are Born in the Dark, So Am I. It's a reminder for anyone who needs to hear it that you don't have to be a mainstream in order to be beautiful. And that a lot of the times, coming from somewhere totally different is what makes you beautiful and makes you unique. So let's zoom in again, this time to the early 2000s. We're coming out of heroin chic now, but somehow it didn't get any better. It got sharper, smaller, even more extreme. Everywhere you looked, it was the Brittany Murphys, the Paris Hiltons, the Amy Winehouses, Christina Aguilera. They were beautiful, they were iconic, and they were tiny. Low-rise jeans didn't just hang off of you. They mocked any sort of human form you had underneath. And I was definitely into it. I never hit rock bottom. I never landed in a hospital. But for like a year and a half, I remember basically starving myself. I diet any way I could and replaced my dinner meals with my vodka and soda later on in the evening. It was like the less I ate, the more I belonged. And looking back, sometimes I don't know if it was all about being thin or if it was a little bit about control. Controlling my body, my hunger, my values. When you don't have self-confidence to do something in a healthy way, you can find yourself doing it in the ways that hurt the most. You beat yourself up for not being smaller. You punish yourself with hunger and call it progress. And here's something I wish people said back then that they didn't. Not all eating disorders look like skin and bones or obesity. Sometimes it just looks like a normal girl getting smaller and people thinking, hey, you're looking better. And when you're in it, those compliments fuel you. And now it's wild to look back at those times, just watching a TV show or a music video and seeing how thin people were in the early 2000s. And I'm so thankful that it's not that kind of culture anymore. Things started to change in the mid-2010s. Media kind of caught on to the damage it had done, and it first started with like some commercials that would show real bodies, and that really resonated with people who felt that they had not been represented in media. And suddenly curves just weren't accepted, they were celebrated. And I'll be honest, it was healing in a lot of ways for someone like me who grew up in a time where that was not acceptable. We finally see bodies today look like people we actually knew. I see clothes and I'm like, man, that would have fit me so good back in the day, but everything at the store was all low rise and made for a body I did not have. But now, after 20 years of starving myself and to go to a club, things have totally shifted the other direction now. Interestingly enough, to really kind of bring a point across, obesity in America is on the rise. According to the CDC, in 2023, more than 1 in 3 adults in 23 states are obese. And every single US state has at least 1 in 5 adults living with obesity. So we've gone from idolizing starvation to, in a sense, almost a fear of talking about health in our country. And it makes me wonder, have we confused acceptance with avoidance? Is this shift really about inclusion or just necessity? Because so many people struggle with health issues now. Don't get me wrong. I love people being proud of their bodies, and I love seeing so many different shapes being accepted. It's beautiful, it's refreshing. I love that beauty is no longer a narrow mold. Are we glorifying body shapes that put people at risk? And is there a better way than just going from one extreme to another? More importantly, can we find a middle ground? For years, I thought if I could just get smaller, I could get prettier, finally be worthy. But what actually changed my perception of myself wasn't just shrinking, but it was actually finding love. And not just romantic love, but I found someone who saw me fully and loved all the goofy, rebellious, loud parts of me that I always felt I needed to keep quiet. And love didn't just hold me, it made me remember who I was before the world tried to teach me who they think I should be. And together we started making art, not for approval, but for ourselves and for the connection that we had, just to express. The obsession I once had with myself and how I looked turned more into a fixation on becoming a better artist and creating new things. And those goth clubs that at once made me feel like I had to fit in, and now they serve as inspiration for a life where I stand out on purpose. And that's part of why we started Bones and Black. Not to sell clothes, but to create a space for people who've kind of been through that experience, who felt that maybe even though they wanted to be loud within their subculture, they kind of had to feel that they make themselves small. It's a place for misfits who are done shrinking from society. And it's time to take up space with pride. No size requirements, no age limits. And even now as I get older, I choose to grow bigger, not smaller. Because sometimes people judge by age, not just weight. But I've learned that through my life that every line on my skin, every aging moment is a mark of becoming. There's beauty in every age. There's beauty in every body. And there's no expiration date on being bold. So this journey isn't really just about healing my past. It's kind of about building this future too. If this resonated with you, give it a like, give it a subscribe. Tell me your story. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt like you're too much or not enough, too loud, too soft, too big, too invisible, I just want you to know that you're not alone and you don't need to change who you are to be loved. And you can find your people. They are out there. Maybe if you leave a comment, you can find someone else. This is a place for the misfit, the outsiders, and anyone who's done apologizing for taking up space. So like I said, if that speaks to you, I'd love it if you subscribe. Stay a while and be part of this journey as I tell more stories about my life and hopefully things that you can relate to. And check out Bones and Black if you want to wear something that reflects all the things that we're talking about. Because stars are born in the dark, and so am I, and maybe so are you. See you on the dance floor.